All right, good morning, everyone. Today we'll be reading Daniel chapter 10. All right, so Daniel 10, in the very first verse, we see it says, "In the third year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a message was revealed to Daniel, who was named Belteshazzar. And the message was true and one of great conflict, but he understood the message and had an understanding of the vision." This vision of Daniel's is his fourth vision in our book, and it fills in a lot of the gaps for the first three visions that he's already had. However, he still needs an angel, or he needs somebody to come and interpret it for him. So he asks God for help with that. And God sends an angel, but this angel is delayed by 3 weeks, which we see in verse 2. "In those days I, Daniel, had been mourning for 3 entire weeks." In verse 2. In verse 3, he's also fasting, it says here. He didn't have any tasty food, nor meat, nor wine, etc. So it took 3 weeks for this angel to finally come down and talk to Daniel. And why is that? Why did it take 3 weeks? It's because Satan sent one of his own angels or demons to interfere with this angel. And the two angels, the demon and God's angel, were in conflict in heaven before this this angel could come down to earth. In fact, it was so bad that God also sent Michael to help out that angel so he could get over this conflict and get down and talk to Daniel about the vision. So I put this our familiar chart up here on the wall. As we saw in verse 1, it's the third year of Cyrus, king of Persia. And you can see there, he's the first king, Cyrus the Great of Persia. And it's in his third year, which means he's now given his decree to let the Jews go back to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple and the wall. However, we saw in verse 1, Daniel is in conflict. Why is Daniel in conflict? He's in conflict because the work on the temple has stopped. And we've seen a couple of reasons why it stopped, especially in Ezra, in Esther, we saw it had stopped too. One of the reasons was there was people already there when the Jews came back. 50,000 Jews came back, and the people that were already there, who'd been there for the 70 years while the Jews were in Babylon, didn't like them to come back, didn't want them to come back and resettle the area. Another reason was apathy, of course. They were tired of building that wall, and angelic conflict was something else, slowed them way down. Okay, so here we are. Daniel's in this great conflict. There's another conflict which I've already partially mentioned, and that's the conflict in heaven with the two angels conflicting there. So Daniel is asked for an answer, and this is being delayed by the 3 weeks. Notice during these 3 weeks that Daniel was waiting. He never stopped praying. He continued to pray during this whole time. We saw that in chapter 9. He had quite a prayer there. So in verse 5, it says, "Finally, I lifted my eyes," and I want to show you a picture. "I finally lifted my eyes, and behold, there was a certain man dressed in linen." In verse 13, it says, "But the prince of the kingdom of Persia was withstanding me for 21 days. This is God's angel speaking these words to explain to Daniel why he's late getting there. He says, "The prince of the kingdom of Persia," that's not Cyrus, our king. That's the angel, the demon, that's getting in the way of this angel to come down. And we know he's an angel because if he was a man, a king of Persia, he would not have been able to withstand God's angel at all. So he's one of Satan's angels, or again, a demon. And he's got in the way of this angel coming down. So in verse 13 is the explanation why God's angel is late getting there. I did notice, and I wanted to point out a couple items about demon activity. Here in our chapter, we see demon activity. Satan always tried to prevent God's plan from moving forward. In this case, the plan was get the Jews back to Jerusalem, get them building the wall, give Daniel an answer. This vision that he has is going to explain the future for the Jews, and Satan's trying to block that from happening. Now, I don't get my doctrine from movies, but you probably all saw The Passion. Is it The Passion of the Christ or The Passion? The movie Mel Gibson made. In that movie, I noticed a lot of demon activity surrounding the cross and the events of the cross. Again, Satan trying to prevent that from happening, because that would have derailed God's plan for all of us, really, because there wouldn't have been no sacrifice on the cross by Christ. So a lot of demon activity shows up in these important events in history, in God's history. Okay. So anyway, verse 14, now I have come to give you an understanding of what will happen to your people in the latter days. This is the vision Daniel's having, or the 4 visions he's had, and he's going to get an answer now. He's going to know the future of the Jews, and we always know that in the end, God will ultimately triumph over all that things that get in his way. Okay, so we covered the 3-week delay, or the 21 days. Daniel's going to get his answer, and he's not going to be mourning anymore once he's got the whole big picture. So that's what we're trying to do here. So I'm ready to go. I'm in Daniel chapter 10. I'm going to start at verse 1. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a message was revealed to Daniel, who was named Belteshazzar. And the message was true and one of great conflict. But he understood the message and had an understanding of the vision. In those days, I, Daniel, had been mourning for 3 entire weeks. I did not eat any tasty food, nor did meat or wine enter my mouth, nor did I use any ointment at all until the entire 3 weeks were completed. On the 24th day of the 1st month, while I was by the bank of the great river, that is, the Tigris, I lifted my eyes and looked, and behold, there was a certain man dressed in linen, whose waist was girded with a belt of pure gold, of Uphaz. His body also was like beryl. His face had the appearance of lightning, and his eyes were like flaming torches. His arms and feet like the gleam of polished bronze, and the sound of his words like the sound of a tumult. Now I, Daniel, alone saw the vision, while the men who were with me did not see the vision. Nevertheless, a great dread fell on them, and they ran away to hide themselves. So I was left alone and saw this great vision, yet no strength was left in me, for my natural color turned to a deathly pallor, and I retained no strength. But I heard the sound of his words, and as soon as I heard the sound of his words, I fell into a deep sleep on my face, with my face to the ground. Then behold, a hand touched me and set me trembling on my hands and knees. He said to me, O Daniel, man of high esteem, understand the words that I'm about to tell you, and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you. And when he had spoken this word to me, I stood up trembling. Then he said to me, Do not be afraid, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart on understanding this and on humbling yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to your words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia was withstanding me for 21 days. Then behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, for I had been left there with the king of Persia. Now I have come to give you an understanding of what will happen to your people in the latter days, for the vision pertains to the days yet future. When he had spoken to me according to these words, I turned my face toward the ground and became speechless. And behold, one who resembled a human being was touching my lips. Then I opened my mouth and spoke, and said to him who was standing before me, O my Lord, as a result of the vision, anguish has come upon me, and I have retained no strength. For how can such a servant of my Lord talk with such as my Lord? As for me, there remains just now no strength in me, nor has any breath been left in me. Then this one with human appearance touched me again and strengthened me. He said, O man of high esteem, do not be afraid. Peace be with you. Take courage and be courageous. Now as soon as he spoke to me, I received strength and said, May my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me. Then he said, Do you understand why I came to you? But I shall now return to fight against the prince of Persia. So I am going forth, and behold, the prince of Greece is about to come. However, I will tell you what is inscribed in the writing of the truth. Yet there is no one who stands firmly with me against these forces, except Michael, your prince.